I'll be honest, I kind of feel silly making the video, if I'm being honest with you, but this was a huge deal to me. You know, Appalachia is full of this. It's full of this theology. It seems a little bit silly to make this video. I'll be honest with you. I'm at the end of this video, and I'm kind of thinking this sounds crazy. This is, I don't know. It's weird, dude. I don't know, man. If you are from Appalachia or the South, you're probably familiar with the pre-tribulation rapture. If you're not sure what that is, this is something that was popularized by a series of books and some movies called Left Behind. And if you're like me, if you grew up on this theology when you were a child, growing up in the 90s, you were absolutely scared crapless all the time. I'm here to tell you why, and I'm here to talk to you about what that is and why it is wrong. But before I do that, if you guys please could subscribe to the channel and like this video, that would really help me out a lot, and I would just really, really appreciate that. Before we get into this, I need to tell you guys a story. So I grew up in Pentecostal / non-denomination sort of a church background. There was theology taught about the rapture, and I always knew it as just the rapture. And it was a period of which at any moment, anytime, you never knew when, Jesus was going to come back and he was going to take the chosen ones away, and then people would be left behind. The people that were left behind would go through a 7-year trial, like a 7-year period, where they'd be judged very harshly and they'd go through rough times before Jesus would come back again to sort of gather up the rest. And this was heavily taught in a lot of the churches, really all the churches that I ever went to. And it was popularized by a series, I think it was books first, and then there was some movies. I think maybe Kirk Cameron was in one of them. I don't know. I always thought there was one movie, but apparently there was a couple. But I remember growing up and learning this theology. The preachers would stand up there at the pulpit and they would talk about being taken away and at any moment, and that you always had to be on guard, that you would be taken away in this rapture. And then people would be left behind to go through this, like I said, this 7-year period of tribulation. It absolutely scared me to death. So one of the memories I have when I was a little kid, we lived in this ranch style home. I love that house. I see it almost every day. But I think about this, when I look at that house, I think about this about every single time. So I'm walking down the steps, and I can't tell you how old I was. It was in the mid-90s. I'm walking down the steps. My parents are watching a movie downstairs, and we had this living room that was downstairs, and we had our big TV down there. And they were watching a movie. I remember in the scene, I don't remember any bit of the movie, but I do remember this one scene of the movie where there's this school bus that's parked in the middle of the street, like sort of crooked in the middle of the road. You can tell that there's no kids on there, but there's clothes or something like all over the bus. I can't remember if the bus driver is either like running out of the bus or something, but there's like parents looking for their kids and everybody's running around the road. And what happened is these kids had been taken up in the rapture, and everybody that was left behind, you know, they were getting ready to start this 7-year period of trial and tribulation, you know, this period of judgment. And I remember that to this day, it stuck with me. And for years, and maybe it may have even helped me a little bit just to be a little more cautious. But if anything, it just instilled this fear in me that I would be left behind. And I remember you going into a room and the TV would be on. And again, I'm a little kid here. This is in the mid to late 90s. I would see the TV on and there would be like a bowl there, or like, you know, where somebody was in this room. You know, obviously they, you know, let's just say they're eating a bowl of cereal or they're eating lunch or whatever. And they leave their bowl there and they get up and walk away, right? Like a normal human being would do. And it would catch me at the perfect time. I'd come around the corner and I'd see the TV on and I'd see the food there, and I'm like, holy crap, they're gone. I've been left behind. And it would scare the snot out of me. And then of course, 3 seconds later, my parents would come around the corner. You know, they were going to the bathroom or they were, you know, doing whatever parents did at the time, right? But I remember that stayed with me forever. And a couple years ago, I did some research and figured out that none of this is real. This was one of the hardest things for me to realize, and it baffled me when I found out that this is just not true. Listen, when you join the Catholic Church, there's plenty of things that you have questions on, and there's some things that are just kind of hard to get by, and you got to work your way through it. You got all the Marian things and the Pope, and just, you have your icons and your statues and all these different things. There's very hard teachings in marriage, and I don't believe any of that shocked me or gave me a harder time than when I found out that the rapture, what I had known was what the rapture was growing up, was not the truth. This bothered me so much, and I want to share this with you guys. So if you guys are not familiar with this, I'm going to try to fill you in the best I can here and go as quickly as possible. I like to keep it simple here on these little shows that I do. So the rapture, this idea of this pre-tribulation, this taken away of the chosen, there's a 7-year period, then Jesus comes back again to take the rest. This was made up by a man named John Nelson Darby in the late 1800s, okay? And he was an Anglican priest, and he is responsible for dispensationalism. So what dispensationalism is, this is not correct theology. So basically what dispensationalism is, and I'm trying to be as simple as I can here, dispensationalism is, it breaks up history into eras. And then God deals in each era differently. It's almost like God doesn't have one plan. God is dealing, differently with each one of these eras. And that's just not the right theology. That's where dispensationalism is. And where this idea of the pre-tribulation rapture comes from the idea of dispensationalism. And basically that means like God has a plan for Israel and then the church, right? And we're not talking about the political state of Israel right now. We're talking about like the people of Israel and the church. And basically Jesus comes back and takes the chosen, and then the rest come back later. And in reality, that's just not true. What happens at the end when Jesus comes back, that's it. He's only going to come back one time, and he's going to be visible. It's going to be this glorious celebration. The living and the dead will be judged. The world will be made new. He's going to come back one time. There's not going to be this pre-tribulation rapture. There are Bible verses that they can sort of cherry pick, try to support this theology. The most famous one, though, and a lot of you guys may know this, but if you don't, the most famous one they use and the one they really hang their hat on is 1 Thessalonians 4. It's like 15, 16 or 16, 17, but it talks about meeting the Lord in the clouds. Really, there's a simple answer to this. So a lot of this is just sort of cross-referencing. If you go back earlier, when Jesus is going into the city, everybody comes out and greets him as he is coming into the city. It's sort of the same connection. They see their king approaching the city, and many people leave the city and go join Jesus and then walk with him back into the city. It's what you would do if you were holding a place for royalty, right? Somebody, for an exceptional figure. That's sort of what this is. It's just more of a celebration type look where when Jesus comes back for that final time, we want to meet our king in the clouds, and we want to come out of the city and meet him there and join our king, right? We see him on the horizon. There's no point in waiting on him to walk in by himself. Let's all rush through the gates and go meet him there and walk with him. That's really what that verse kind of talks about. If you really look into it, it doesn't have anything to do with the chosen being met up in the clouds and then there's going to be some judgment thing there in the middle. It just doesn't make any sense. And it just really seems like this whole theology is really just pulling at straws or just grasping at straws. Jesus was very clear. He was baptized once. He died once. He's only going to come back once. He's not going to come back twice, 3 times, whatever. When Jesus comes back, that's it. The living and the dead will be judged. The earth will be made new. Jesus comes back once. That's the end of time. And I wanted to tell you guys this, because if this scared you as much as it scared me, and if you really don't know about this still, have a little bit of grace with yourself, have a little bit of peace with yourself, and know that, Jesus could come back at any moment. He could come back before you even finish this video. He could come back in the middle of the night tonight. But when he comes back, that's it. You don't have to worry about this judgment, where the earth is ruled by evil, and there is none of that. That stuff is not real. And I wanted to bring you guys that because for me, and as silly as this may seem, because when you look back on it, it seems a little bit silly. I want to sit here and say that I don't want to disrespect and be rude, but I almost kind of want to be a little bit disrespectful. And that theology is crazy. It's fear mongering, and it's it's just a false message. Be calm, be still, trust in the Lord, and know that Jesus is coming back. The dead and living will be judged righteously and fairly. The world will be made new. So don't worry, we're not going to get zapped up. Your kids are not going to get zapped up and then you're going to wait. You're going to wait around and be tortured for 7 years. Or I'll be honest, I kind of feel silly making the video if I'm being honest with you. But this was a huge deal to me. Appalachia is full of this. It's full of this theology. It seems a little bit silly to make this video. I'll be honest with you. I'm at the end of this video and I'm kind of thinking this sounds crazy. I don't know. It's weird, dude. I don't know, man. But if you enjoy the video, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys watching the videos. It is awesome. You guys are the best. I've had a couple people already talk to me about some of the stuff. It is wonderful. The real message of Jesus Christ, getting that out there and just trying to do my part in spreading the gospel has been amazing. And there's more videos to come. I got videos on speaking in tongues, purgatory, all kinds of stuff coming up, guys. So please stay tuned. I really, really appreciate every single one of you guys. God bless.